Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor. I'm not surprised by this news, of course. It's just, it's just become so glaringly obvious for me to spot frauds and con artists. The behavior is just too predictable. That's why, I spot these guys, legitimate people in the corporate and the investment world, professionals. So of course on YouTube, it's I could be like in a coma and spot them. So you all might recall a couple of months ago, I think it was, I did a video on Michael Saylor, and I want to encourage you to take a look at that, to review it. And I basically talked about how I thought I thought he was a criminal, just because, well, I guess you're not a criminal if you haven't broken the law, but that's also a gray area when you're talking about securities regulators. I didn't understand how it was possible for him under, in MicroStrategy to not just purchase Bitcoin with firm assets, but to borrow billions of dollars to purchase Bitcoin, shareholder capital. And, even with a shareholder vote, I don't think that should be legal for many reasons. I could debate that all day. I'll just go ahead and mention one thing. Bitcoin is a portal, a platform for harboring, for disseminating, hiding, distributing illegal proceeds from drug trafficking, terroristic activities, money laundering, sex trade. So, but I don't even know that they had a shareholder vote. And these types of people they're too easy for me to spot. He's kind of like a John McAfee, which many people several years ago fell for that con man, and I called him out from day one. Let me just mention John McAfee. I exposed him many years ago, but the first clue that I knew something was up was when John McAfee deliberately made this whole media buzz. He created this whole drama with the media, which didn't make sense to me. And then we find out later on why he did it all, right? And of course, John McAfee was an absolute fraud. I exposed this many years ago. I'll get back to the whole media thing, but let me just mention, and of course this is not on John McAfee, but when you're talking about con artists and frauds and pieces of garbage, it's all connected. They're all in the same circle. But John McAfee, if you look into it, of course, he's noted for, and this is what the media, McAfee Security, which is a piece of shit company, by the way. Now, he was out of it for, I don't know, 25 years or so. He had sold the company. But here's the point, folks. McAfee never did any of the programming for that company. He paid people. So, he makes himself out, and the media made himself out to seem like some genius programmer. He did not do that. He admitted himself. See, McAfee, if you'll recall, he worked for the U.S. government, Department of Defense or something like that, one of those agencies, and he actually stole one or more viruses, paid people to reverse engineer it, and that was the formation of McAfee. That's right. He's a scam. He's a fraud. 6 feet under now. And so you need to understand that about him. And the reason why I mention that is because, of course, when people think of McAfee, at least a few years ago, before most people realized he was a fraud, was that they thought that he was somebody that's knowledgeable and wise, a genius. No, that's all a fraud. Folks, if you're really credible and you produce something of credibility through hard work and insight right? You achieved value. Are you going to be a con man? Think about that for a second. Are you going to become a con man? And by the way, this relates to Mark Benioff, right? It's a similar question that should be asked about this guy. You know, maybe there's more there under the surface that we don't know about, you know, because of his association with Tony Robbins. That's more than suspicious to me. And it's enough for me to conclude that Mark Benioff is just not what people think he is. I'll be honest with you. Now, I don't want to say because I don't know for sure, but the guy has zero credibility as far as I'm concerned. Anybody who lines up with Tony Robbins, I'm sorry, scammers hang together. Con artists hang together, right? So, same with Ray Dalio. So, let me finish with McAfee and the media. So, McAfee intentionally created this whole media drama saga. Why? Well, you see why he did it now. Because he gained media celebrity status. Think about those three words and write them down. Write those three words down. I've been exposing this for well over a decade. Media celebrity status. This is what drives everything in the media. It drives all of these fraudsters and con artists in the media. From reality TV, which is a fraud, by the way, complete fiction. It's not reality. It's completely orchestrated, scripted garbage, to the financial media, to even YouTube. Media celebrity status. And this whole business model, operational model began, and by the way, I didn't mean to even talk, this is just now coming off into my mind thinking about these things. I didn't mean to talk about this, obviously, but I'm steering off course. But it's important for the bigger picture of understanding fraud and scams and media scams, and of course the YouTube fake investment guru fraudsters out there, and they're all fraudsters. None of these guys who are pitching stocks, analyzing stocks, recommending stocks, none of them are qualified on YouTube to be talking about pitching stocks, analyzing stocks. Zero. Show me one person. Show me. Right? If they're pitching stocks, analyzing stocks, providing investment advice, investment so-called insights, they're frauds on YouTube. Show me an exception. If you don't already have an ad blocker, please get an ad blocker. Don't empower these pieces of shit, scumbag criminals on YouTube who are partners with the criminal company YouTube and Google. They're partners in crime. That's right. They're partners in crime. If you're monetizing, you're a partner in crime with Google and YouTube. Why? Have you checked the ads on YouTube? How scammy they are? People that are monetizing their channels are partners. They're business partners with the scammers who are pumping scammy advertisements out. Think about that for a second. Think about that for more than a second. Think about that clearly for a few minutes. Think about what that says about these people on YouTube. Ad-based content, media is the devil. It's the absolute worst thing for humanity in the world. So, getting back to McAfee and his media exposure, he created this drama. Why? Well, you saw what he did with it. He leveraged it. He leveraged it into media celebrity status. What did he do with that? Well, the first thing he did was he ran for president. Anybody remember that? Well, I remember that because he teamed up with Alex Jones. And it's funny because there's so many idiots on YouTube who have channels, who watch YouTube, who they fell for Alex Jones. And it took them several years to realize that Alex Jones is not legitimate. Yeah, dildo, but your thoughts, your mind, your judgment was tainted by Alex Jones. And that tells me that you can't redeem yourself. You cannot do it. You cannot redeem yourself from being remotely credible on anything you have to say. You fell for Alex Jones? Wow. So he tried to run for president, and I remember seeing immediately it was a scam. He was doing the whole Ron Paul thing. Him, just like Peter Schiff, they saw how Ron Paul had his money bombs. Ron Paul, the big fucking scam artist. I mean, I've exposed him so long ago. Libertarians, all that scam, complete scam. And you all know who's behind the libertarians, the same people who run the media in Wall Street. Anytime there's any type of huge scam operation, it seems like it's the same cabal of people, by the way. And what's shocking is that you're talking about a cabal that's a tiny fraction of the population percentage, which kind of leads you to believe there's a mafia going on, right? Right. And I've proven all that for many years. So McAfee, the first thing, and I knew he was a fraud. He was just out to try and solicit donations for his presidential campaign. It was so obvious what an idiot this guy was. Why? Because I took a look at his so-called website for his presidential campaign, and he didn't have anything about issues. You know, if you're going to run for office, you need to discuss your position on various important issues. He didn't have anything on that. So later on, of course, what did he do? He leveraged his media celebrity status, just like, folks, why do you think these guys line up for the media and do as they want? Because they become media celebrities. Reality TV, look at all the real estate scam artists from reality TV. I mean, do I need to remind everybody? Some of them committed felonies, many of them committed fraud, right? They're losers who get on TV to create a media celebrity status so they can sell books, sell their seminars, so on and so forth, right? Financial media, same thing, right? So John McAfee later on leveraged that media celebrity status to do what? To run cryptocurrency scams, to run cryptocurrency pump and dumps, right? Remember that? So when I see Michael Saylor, I think of the next John McAfee. To be honest with you, it's quite clear the guy is a piece of garbage. He's just like, folks. He's in the same circle jerk as this Palapatia guy. You know, all these scammers out there who want to pretend that they're on your side and they're fucking you. This Cohen guy, right? This Cohen guy, the CEO of Chewy, or whatever, the founder of Chewy, and he got involved in Bed Bath & Beyond. He fucked all you little Reddit kids out there, Wall Street bets. He fucked you in the ass. He fucked you. He played you suckers, just like the CEO of AMC. Folks, this whole scam of people appealing to you, yeah, we're going to empower you. We're going to empower you. The people that are pitching that scam, whether it's the libertarians or the cryptocurrency people, they're there to fuck you, right? They're there to fuck you. I've seen this over and over again, and people keep falling for it. It's just obvious. You all understand that? You all get that? Right? This Palapatia guy. I knew this guy was a scam the first time I saw the guy. Oh, first of all, he gets the media to make him like some big shot. Oh, he's from Facebook. Oh, a criminal fucking company? And then he says, oh, I quit Facebook because I didn't like what they were doing. Oh, really? You were there with them for how long? How many years? It took you that long? Oh, then give back the fucking money that Facebook stole from people, right? Give it back. Give it back. You understand? It's typical bullshit to lure in the sheep. The populist argument, right? He wants to appeal to Main Street, and you saw why. So he could get Main Street to fall for his SPAC scams. You understand? Folks, you got to wake up. If there's anybody in the world that knows the operation model, the business model, the deceptive and deceitful criminal psychology of con men and frauds, it's me. because I've been exposing them, monitoring them, and studying them for over 2 decades, actually. And hopefully you all are learning, even in this unrehearsed, unscripted little opening. I'm going to call it an opening for Michael Saylor. Whenever somebody comes out, right? I mean, folks, when you're talking about people who have exposure and there's money involved, they're going to fuck you. They're going to fuck you. Guaranteed, write it down. No exceptions. This is the way it works. And hopefully you're starting to see this with McAfee, right? McAfee was coming out as a populist. Oh, the government's evil. Remember that? The government's bad. Bad government. They tell you things that everyone's going to agree with. Of course, the government's bad. Nobody likes it. But you know what? They're a whole hell of a lot better than these scam artists telling you that they're bad. Okay? They're telling you that to make money off of that. Similar to the whole Alex Jones pitch, right? Michael Saylor, the same thing. Tell me it's not the same thing. Robert Kiyosaki, the same thing, which we're going to cover later on today, right? And we're also going to get back to Jeremy Grantham. Libertarians, same thing. So I want you to, go over this video from, I don't know how long ago it was, on Michael Saylor. You can review that. But, so now we see, of course, I'm not surprised. Why am I not surprised that Saylor is accused of evading taxes by $25 million? Because the guy is obviously a scumbag, money-worshipping scam artist, right? That's what he is. And this is a guy who actually, I didn't even realize this until recently. I think I read it in this article or another article how, I mentioned in the previous video that I made or streamed on Saylor that MicroStrategy by some people is considered a Bitcoin ETF. Well, that's because Michael Saylor was basically promoting his company, MicroStrategy, as a Bitcoin ETF. Right? So, I mean, think about that. So why was he doing that? Why was he buying Bitcoin? Because he wanted to appeal to the cryptocurrency kids so that they would support his stock and buy his stock. You understand? He wanted to turn his stock into a meme stock. Tell me that's not a scam motivation. Tell me that's not a motivation of a scam artist and a terrible CEO of a completely useless piece of shit company. If you don't know anything about libertarian, let me just go ahead and tell you this: the secret about libertarian. This basically was created after the Bolshevik Revolution was thwarted, after the Bolsheviks lost power out of Russia, and so you had certain types of individuals who you can imagine who they are, created the libertarian movement. And if you take a look at the history, and you see this, what's her name? This what's that weirdo she male looking Ayn Rands or whatever? I mean, what do you think that, what tribe do you think she's from? And if you look at the libertarian movement, you'll see the same tribesmen running that whole scam. FYI. Okay. Folks, when it comes to scams, there's one tiny minority of people who seem to have the monopoly on scams. Okay? I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's irrefutable. 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 And I'll go up against anybody in the world for money. You see, I don't want shit stains flapping their mouths without anything to lose. Put your money where your mouth is or shut the fuck up. That's the way I've always been. Nobody else does that, by the way. Nobody else in the world is willing to do that. You know why? Because I speak the truth. And people typically don't speak the truth because the truth does not make them money. The truth will cause you to lose money. You understand, folks? So, I'm not surprised, getting back to Michael Saylor. I'm sure he's a libertarian. I'm willing to bet good money on that. He's a libertarian. I'll almost guarantee it because of the psychopathic types of things that come out of his mouth. And so, you all may have heard of the story. Basically, he resides. Well, the Washington, the D.C. District Attorney claiming that he lives in D.C. MicroStrategy, I believe, is in Virginia, bordering D.C., Tyson's Corner. And the reality is that Saylor claims to be a resident of Florida. And let me just tell you something. Of course, Saylor's got arguments. Look, you're dealing with a guy who he certainly shares traits, and a lot of these people share traits, by the way. A lot of these con artists and fraudsters who will do anything to get money, the money worshipers, they're sociopaths. Michael Saylor certainly seems to have some of the characteristics that I have noted in sociopaths. I'm not going to come out and claim he is one. I don't know enough about the guy, but certainly there are some characteristics that I see there. And, when you have a person like that, they're obviously, he's not just going to claim that he lives in Florida. He's going to plan it all out in advance. You see, he's going to plan it all out and do everything he can to make it look like he lives in Florida. And he claims that, so in other words, he registered to vote in Florida, right? So you could claim that that's a criteria of residency, right? Where do you vote? You see? And, that's the Attorney General isn't going to come out with this lawsuit for no reason. I can guarantee you that it's valid. The question is he going to get away with it? As we know, if you've got money, you can buy your way out of problems, right? We saw that with Mark Cuban, by the way, several years ago when he was sued by the SEC for trading on insider information. And I wrote about that and talked about that several years ago on my site. But according to the lawsuit, he owes over $100 million due to not just the $25 million in back taxes, but the penalties and other things. MicroStrategy is also being sued for facilitating this fraud, which is very interesting. So I'm happy. I hope he is found guilty. I don't like when bad people, when con artists and frauds game the system. I want bad things to happen to bad people. I don't think that makes me bad. I think that makes me a good guy. I want very bad things to happen to bad people because they harm many, many, many people in many different ways. But this is nothing bad. This is just justice, right? This is not even bad. This is just justice, what we're talking about here, right? I mean, we all pay our taxes. Folks, this is when you're talking about a scumbag, money-worshiping piece of shit who will do anything, a money grubber. Do anything for that next dollar. He can't pay taxes, right? Think about that. Think about the type of person, the character you're dealing with there. You can just read it yourself. $100 million in unpaid taxes and penalties. I'm not surprised. $4 billion in Bitcoin. Average price of $30,700. He considers the company stock as a sort of Bitcoin ETF. What a scumbag. What a scumbag. Never paid any income taxes. Think about that, folks. He's never paid any income taxes in that 10-year period at least, for over a decade. Think about that. You know what that means, by the way? I don't suppose any of you will think of it this way. But if you're not thinking of it this way, then you need to start thinking clearly. Most people who are on YouTube can't think clearly. I would say 99% of the people on YouTube can't think clearly. And YouTube is one of the reasons why they can't think clearly. And their brain is melting and they don't realize it. The fact that Michael Saylor hadn't paid taxes for over a decade, you know what that means? That means that your taxes were used to pay for things that Michael Saylor should have been contributing to. You say, well, I don't live in D.C. I don't live in Virginia. So how am I paying for things with my taxes that Saylor should be paying for? Because tax revenue is actually transferred to the federal government. And then it's redistributed, actually. FYI. Okay. So think about that. For every person that doesn't pay their taxes, their fair share, and of course we know the people with the most money are the ones that are dodging the system. They're putting an upward pressure on taxes. They're causing taxes to go up because the various government bodies out there, local, state, federal, are not generating sufficient revenue, tax revenues, right? And of course, it's not just income tax. There's many different ways they can raise tax revenues through fees, various types of fees, and other types of payments, right? I actually wrote about that 16 years ago, the hidden taxes that we would see in the U.S. And of course, I've been exactly right on that. In fact, one of the examples I gave in my book 16 years ago, which nobody, the book obviously should be in every fucking university, is if you take a look at your telecom bill, your phone bill, I think it's more than 20% of that is taxes and fees. Like, I don't know, close to 25% of your telecom bill. If you take a close look at it, do you think that was always the way it was? Of course not. And that's going to continue to be that way. That's how the government's going to continue to silently tax people. It's kind of hidden taxes, you see. And of course, who do you think that impacts the most? It impacts the working and middle class. It doesn't impact the very wealthy people, as you can imagine, because a higher percentage of the working and middle class, they're paying a higher percentage of their income to these fees for telecom and so on and so forth. When I was publishing on the same website that Peter Schiff was many years ago, and I was criticizing his nonsense, and he went and cried to the owners of the website to remove the articles that I wrote. That's right. He went and cried. And all I did was just debunk his stupid arguments. Didn't call him any names, didn't say anything. Folks, this is how these con artists operate. They operate by creating this perception. And this is why con artists work in networks and syndicates. The circle jerk. The YouTube fake investment guru circle jerk. If you're noticing, they're all friends. Oh, I'm going to make up everything money. Going to make up with Jeremy. Oh, Tom Nash going to make up with everything money. You understand? Why? Because they're stronger when they're unified. And the reason why is because if they're in a network, then you're going to hop from Tom Nash to everything money to whomever, right? You're going to stay in that little circle jerk, and you're going to keep getting disinformation and dog shit, and you're never going to break out. So you're going to be in this whole realm of false perception that these guys have a clue. So the worst thing that can happen to con artists is to be exposed for the truth. The truth is their worst enemy. You understand? The truth is their worst enemy. This is why they form these syndicates, to keep their cult members. You know, if their cult members want to look at something else, they'll follow one of the other circle jerk guys. And this is why Peter Schiff went and bitched and moaned to have my articles removed. And all it was is a 3-part series. Peter Schiff, wrong on the economy, wrong on healthcare, which you can probably find online. The guy is complete disinformation, but think about it. He was promoted as an expert. He made tens of millions of dollars selling completely useless books. Think about that. Why? Because his name is Schiff. You understand? That's why. I exposed this long ago, folks. It's irrefutable. There's a mafia going on out there controlling everything. And the problem is that if you're not in that mafia, it doesn't matter what your last name is or who you are, you're going to get fucked like everybody else. That's the problem. That's the problem. And anybody out there that defends that situation and says I'm wrong and calls me names, they're just a fraud. They're trying to protect that criminal system. Fact. Write it down. So, not surprised, Michael Saylor. Not surprised. And you know what's funny is that all these articles, you'll see all these idiots with their little crypto sites and shit. And billionaire Michael Saylor. Now, Forbes is a scam. And what's his name? What's the guy's first name? Steve Forbes. This guy's a con man, by the way, in case you all didn't know it. Libertarian con man, complete piece of garbage. If you all don't know why, well, I'll just go ahead and I'll give you a little rundown, and you can look it up for yourself. Steve Forbes has aligned himself with a libertarian gold pumping scam. So he's another media celebrity guy. He's at all these conferences pumping gold, hard assets, all this bullshit. Okay? He's the same as all these other guys, libertarian scammers, FYI. And most of Forbes articles now are they're not even like professional. They're just like by people who volunteer. And, but I will say this. They're the only one that I've seen recently who has actually stated the truth about Michael Saylor, whoever wrote this article, that he's not a billionaire. He was a billionaire with his Bitcoin bullshit, but he's not a billionaire anymore. Not even close, by the way. But all these other guys, billionaire, billionaire, billionaire. Remember, folks, what I said about, you all know the rule. If you see somebody, they talk about billionaire Mark Cuban. That basically means that there's nothing to say about the guy other than he has money because he's a fucking loser. Ask yourself where he got the money, how he got the money. I mean, think about it. Obviously, and I'm going to be releasing the stream on Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is the most overrated investor in U.S. history. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. For anyone who's done the legwork, I did a stream. So the stream was not scripted, not rehearsed, and I just pulled up some things. But that alone is evidence to show you that Warren Buffett is the most overrated investor in U.S. history. He's been completely irrelevant over the past 20 years. He was a great investor a long time ago. I talked about all that. But my point is this. Obviously, Warren Buffett is credible. Obviously, Warren Buffett has achieved, and look, in fairness, look, he's been in the business for how long? 70 years? Jesus. So for 50 of those years, he did great. That's pretty awesome, right? It's just that the media needs to say, hey, you know what? Warren's past his days, but they're not going to do that because they want to sell ads and pump him up. But my point is this. When the media talks about Warren Buffett, do they say billionaire Warren Buffett? No, they don't, right? How about Jeff Bezos? Do they say billionaire Jeff Bezos? No, because these guys have done something, right? They've done something. How about even, you say, well, how about Steve Jobs, right? Did they ever come out, do you ever see an article, billionaire Steve Jobs? So whenever you all understand, whenever you see anyone write billionaire such and such, it's a red flag. You need to assume, until proven otherwise, that they've done nothing or they're a scammer. And that's from my experience. Okay.
Executive has lived in the District of Columbia for more than a decade, but has never paid any DC income taxes. He also says he's suing Saylor's company, MicroStrategy, which is located just across the river in suburban Virginia, for, quote, conspiring to help him evade taxes he legally owes on hundreds of millions of dollars he's earned while living in DC. The suit alleges that Saylor illegally avoided more than $25 million in D.C. taxes by pretending to be a resident of other jurisdictions with lower personal income taxes. The AG says Saylor lives in a 7,000 square foot penthouse on the Georgetown waterfront and has docked at least 2 of his luxury yachts in the district for long periods of time. The AG says that the complaint includes detailed allegations that Saylor was physically present in D.C. for most of each year, despite claiming to be a Florida resident, including allegations detailing flight logs from MicroStrategy's corporate jet and location-tagged social media posts. The whistleblower's complaint also alleges that Saylor openly bragged to friends and acquaintances about evading D.C. taxes and encouraged others to follow his example. The AG alleges here that Saylor avoided paying more than $25 million in D.C. income taxes, and he alleges that MicroStrategy as a company actively conspired with Saylor to enable the fraud, including by filing inaccurate W-2s with the address of his property in Florida rather than his home in D.C. And we've reached out to MicroStrategy for its comments on this allegation, and we will bring those to you as soon as we have them.
So you hear that there. So I mean, think about it, folks. These are the types of people who have. These are the enemies of the world. These are the worst kind of people. I mean, think about it for a second. You have hardworking, middle class, working class people who pay their taxes, and they're some of them are struggling to get by. And they don't have the luxury of gaming the stock option system and the whole stock market scam, which is what it's become. The stock market has destroyed capitalism in the U.S. anyway. It's really, why do you think capitalism is in such a crisis? You've got guys like Michael Saylor who have made hundreds of millions of dollars. What's he done? His company's complete trash. It wasn't even good enough for him. He wanted to, I think I would call it defraud shareholders, defraud the security system, the capital markets, by actually using firm capital to buy a scam. I'm not going to call it an asset, a scam, cryptocurrency. And on top of all that, he defrauds the government of taxes. And he expects you and everyone else to fit the bill. He's too good to pay taxes. He's got all this money, but he doesn't want to pay taxes. He expects you guys to pay for the police services and the fire department services and other city services. Think about that. These types of people are fucking garbage. They're complete scumbag pieces of trash. And there's plenty of them out there, by the way. And, you know, most of the people who are very wealthy, they're of this ilk. They're the same way. And why do you think they're very wealthy, folks? How do you think they became very wealthy? You understand? If you think that most of these people became very wealthy because they're honest and great and hardworking and did everything by the books, by the law, then you're wrong. I'm telling you, it's not true.